It's a great day to be a Cardinal, friends. Is it not? Woo! Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 78th year of our Celebration of Achievement Dinner. I am Elizabeth McLeod-Walls, and I have the privilege of serving as the 15th president of Jewell College, and I'm delighted that you could join us for this in-person gathering. Doesn't it feel good to be in person? Oh my goodness. And tonight we will recognize distinguished alumni as well as our current students, which if you caught that video, you join me in being astonished with their ingenuity, creativity, talent, and grit. We call this event our annual Celebration of Achievement because it is exactly that, a joyous recognition of the best of William Jewell. We equip our students to lead lives of meaning and purpose by teaching them to think, to engage, to create, and to adapt within a community that both nurtures and inspires them. In turn, our alumni are thought leaders who advance the goals of shared prosperity and economic vitality for all. This is why Jewell's critical thinking mission is so important to Kansas City, and why this year we are inaugurating the Critical Thinker of the Year Award to recognize those Kansas Cityans who have devoted their lives to solving problems, promoting education, and making our community better. To identify criteria for the award, I convened a group of leaders whose own contributions to the prosperity of Kansas City has been profound. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge these individuals, several of whom are here with us tonight. Dr. Debbie Ballard, woohoo! Sherry Gonzalez, Scott Hall, Jan Kramer, Carolyn Watley, Dr. Maurice Watson, Pedro Zamora, and Julian Zugazagoita. Thank you all for helping William Jewell give shape to this significant new award that recognizes critical thinking as vital to the future of Kansas City. And so tonight is indeed a celebration of all that William Jewell stands for and all that our graduates contribute to the world. I want to kick off our evening together and this time of reconvening and rejuvenating as a community, with a toast. Each of you has a champagne flute at your table setting, and I invite you to join me in celebrating our students, our graduates, and the critical thinkers who are shaping Kansas City's vibrant future. Cheers, Cardinals. Cheers. Cheers. Woo. Thank you all for joining us and for supporting the critical thinking mission of Jewell College.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We're about to start our program. My name is Grace Scarby, a senior nonprofit leadership and communication major here at Jewell. Over the past 4 years, William Jewell has provided me not only with an outstanding liberal arts education, but the leadership skills to put that education to work. As a Shawnee Mission East high school graduate, I never saw myself staying close to home for college, but as soon as I toured Jewell's campus, I instantly changed my mind. During my time as a Cardinal, I have been challenged to think critically and connect with my community, both here and abroad. Last summer, I traveled to Costa Rica to study Spanish at International Polytechnic University. Though the trip was exciting and full of beautiful nature and new friends, I was also thrown into daily, 3-hour-long, one-on-one Spanish classes taught by a professor who spoke absolutely no English. I am so glad I made the effort to get acquainted with my professor, an immigrant from Nicaragua. She taught me the harsh realities of her home country and how teaching had given her a new love for life. My host mother, Denise, welcomed me with open arms and cooked me plenty of delicious platanos. I returned to Jewell with a desire to expand my understanding and connect with the world around me, just as I'd connected with my professor and Denise. Another opportunity to gain confidence occurred in the Florida Everglades. As a first-year student at Jewell, I was selected for the Prior Leadership Program. As Prior Fellows, my group participated in many leadership classes that culminated with an outward-bound trip, aiming to teach us self-reliance skills. For 2 weeks, I paddled over 100 nautical miles in a canoe with 4 Jewell students, navigating solely with a map and a compass. While it certainly was a challenge, all our crew members left feeling refreshed and confident to take on anything that the world may throw our way. At Jewell, the nonprofit leadership curriculum has students working with organizations all around the city, helping them with everything from board development to strategic planning. I have worked with 8 nonprofit organizations through classworks all around Kansas City, and those experiences have helped prepare me to enter the workforce after graduation. Since January of 2021, I have interned for Casey Common Good, a nonprofit organization working to reduce violence in inner Kansas City. I have run all digital marketing efforts for the organization and was involved in planning their inaugural Summer of Working for Youth, a program connecting young people ages 14 to 18 with paid summer internship experiences. Interning at Casey Common Good has given me the ability to gain marketable on-the-job skills and give back to the city that I call home. On campus, one of my greatest joys stems from membership on the Greek life community. During my time in Zeta Tau Alpha, I connected with our national organization's cause, breast cancer education and awareness, eventually becoming our chapter's philanthropy chair. Last year, my Zeta sisters and I raised over $1,000 for life-saving cancer awareness, and we're honored to put medals on survivors at the finish line of the Making Strides Walk in downtown Kansas City. During my senior year, I was chosen to lead as chapter president with the confidence and empathy I have gained through so many great Jewell experiences. For many students, Greek life is where we have met our closest friends, learned leadership skills, and truly learned how to excel as Jewell students. I have grown so much over the last 4 years, and I am so grateful for the role that William Jewell has played in that transformation. I know that my Jewell journey could not have been possible without the amazing support of Jewell staff, faculty, administration, and all the scholarship donors in this room tonight. When I walk across the stage at graduation in May, I'll be joining thousands of other Jewell alumni who are committed to making our world a better place. I intend to pursue a career at a Kansas City advertising agency working in account management. But whether through volunteering or board service, I also want to take my digital communication skills to smaller nonprofits in the Kansas City area. Because Jewell has taught me that nothing is more rewarding than giving back. It is important for us to take moments like this to pause and recognize those who have been pathfinders before us and whose achievements act as sources of inspiration to me and my friends at Jewell. Tonight, we will be recognizing the 2022 Citation of Achievement recipients. This award is William Jewell's highest alumni honor. Last year, we were unable to introduce our 2021 Citation of Achievement honorees in this ballroom. One of them was able to join us this evening. From the class of 1986 and currently the president and CEO of Reese Nichols Realtors in Kansas City, Mike Frazier, will you please stand? As you can see from the extensive list in your program, the college has a deep-rooted tradition of cultivating high achievers. At tomorrow's convocation ceremony on campus, we will formally present the 2022 class of Alumni Honorees to be recognized as examples of achievement and inspiration. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage. From the class of 2001, we recognize Tyler Griffin. Tyler serves as Vice President of North American Consulting for Cerner Corporation in Kansas City, Missouri. From the class of 1984, we recognize Dr. Coreen Dawkins Jackson. Who serves as the Dean of the Honors College for Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. From the class of 1992, we recognize the Honorable Brent Powell. He serves as Justice on the Missouri Supreme Court. From the class of 2006, we recognize Chris Rosson. Chris serves as President and CEO of the United Way of Greater Kansas City. Thank you all for being with us this evening. I have been introduced to so many inspiring people throughout my student experience, and I'm looking forward to hearing from each of you at convocation ceremonies tomorrow morning. As is custom during the Friday morning convocation, we will recognize all past honorees, and we would like to extend that tradition tonight. Would all past Citation for Achievement recipients please stand with the 2022 class of achievers so we might recognize you for the ways your lives have enriched our own.
Good evening. I'm Tavares Pennington, a senior communications and English major from Blue Springs, Missouri. I'm honored to be one of your masters of ceremony here tonight, and even more honored to have the opportunity to do so alongside someone I consider a good personal friend of mine and a person I respect a whole lot, Miss Grace Garby. We have spent many hours working together in Student Senate and other organizations on campus, and I find that these experiences have been among my most enriching college experiences. As I move into the twilight of my time here at Jewell, I'm feeling this unexplainable anxiety. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it, this anxiety about whether or not you have truly prepared yourself to either go into the workforce or to continue pursuing specialized education. Whenever I try to assuage that anxiety, I end up in a LinkedIn hole that confirms my worst fears. Maybe I still don't know exactly what it is I want to do. When I first stepped on Jewell's campus about 5 years ago for a debate camp, I thought, oh my word, what kind of person would enjoy a college environment this close-knit? As it turns out, I ended up coming to Jewell on a debate scholarship, not knowing any more about the path that lay ahead than I do now. I thought I was smart, but it took me one semester, no, scratch that. It took me my first college essay in Dr. Morris's ethics course for me to realize that I was not nearly as smart as I thought I was. And so I set out to learn something new. Near the end of my first year, I was looking for ways to validate my educational experience beyond the walls of the classroom. I joined the Black Student Alliance, and then I sought out groups of students I was vaguely familiar with. I joined a fraternity. I ran for student senate leadership twice. I attended meetings, workshops, asked questions, found answers, until eventually I realized college wasn't nearly the struggle that it used to be. Before the pandemic, I was able to travel to 10 major U.S. cities through the Jewell Debate Team and the University Innovation Fellows program. I'm so fortunate to have been able to spend time exploring and learning in each of these cities. When we competed, I got to see all those massive university campuses, and I got to realize why we have something that none of those institutions do. A community focused and intentioned on giving opportunities to every student who seeks them. I've spoken to many students from various colleges, and they get little to no institutional support as academic debaters. Coaches are graduates with free time. Travel budgets are minimal. Jewell invests in experiential learning. Students are encouraged to engage global culture and explore multiple avenues through college-funded Journey grants. There are so many ways to forge a path that is completely unique and transformative at Jewell. A kid like me, not even 21 years old, had the opportunity to speak into diversity and inclusion work in a meaningful way by initiating, leading, and developing a project like the Critical Foundations Collection. That challenge was presented to me via simple acts of curiosity, asking what a project like this might take, investigating what a project like this might need. These are simple queries that brought into fruition a very generous donor gift that communicated to me that not only the existing structure of the institution was supporting me, but the former structure of alumni as well. This collection is an addition to the campus library focused on diversifying the kinds of theoretical and academic perspectives that are available to students. This project will outlast me and perhaps impact a future Jewell student's life. And that is a kind of satisfaction that no grade could ever match. I believe we would all agree that if there were a crucial need in the world right now, it is the ability to think deeply and critically about the important questions in life. This is what we as Jewell students do every day as we learn in community with our classmates, professors, and coaches. Beginning as first-year students in our Responsible Self class, we ask ourselves and each other, what is real? What can we know? And how can we live? While these questions are challenging, they must be confronted, for it is our answers to them which will determine the lives we lead and the societies we build. Only by addressing them can this generation consider itself prepared to accept the mantle of leadership wherever it will be demanded, either here in Kansas City or around the world. When I graduate in May, for at least the foreseeable future, I will try to find work in Kansas City and figure out what being Tavares means outside of attending class. I'll have both an English and communication degree, and yet I have no idea what I'll do. It's almost like I'm right back where I started. Except this time, I'll have my critical thinking compass with me, a Jewell education, and I am confident that will lead me to where I need to be. As a student who was only able to attend Jewell because of scholarships and other awards, I am greatly appreciative of this institution's willingness to decrease access barriers to higher education. I do not believe that Jewell would be able to sustain itself without the spirit of generosity from donors like you. I'm grateful not only to you, but to my professors, many of whom I hope to call friend after I'm no longer their student, and to administrators who have taught me more than a semester-long course. My Jewell journey has been nothing if not eye-opening, and continuing that legacy of transformative experiences seems to be the lifeblood of the Jewell tradition. William Jewell is happy to announce that we recently received the following annual and endowed scholarships to provide robust student success programs, access scholarships for first-generation and disadvantaged students, and excellence scholarships for students pursuing music and performing arts majors. Please join me in thanking these donors for the support that they are providing for students like me at William Jewell College. Jamie and Ted Kapke, Dr. Bill Spencer, Leroy and June Seat family, Enterprise Leasing, Bob Bernstein, and Bill and Linda Dreyer. Thank you all. When you invest in Jewell, you are investing in students who are being educated to the highest standards, preparing them to become critical thinkers and leaders. This year's corporate sponsorship committee was led by Darren Pringer, class of 2003. Darren and his committee did an outstanding job generating 85 table sponsors and underwriters for this year's dinner. Thank you for making Jewell a philanthropic priority. Please join me in giving a round of applause to Darren and all of our supporters here tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I am Darren Pringer, a proud 2003 graduate of William Jewell College. Kansas City has many ambitious goals for the prosperity of our region. Human capital will be the biggest factor in our future success. Jewell College has nearly 9,000 people, or just over 50% of our alumni, living in greater Kansas City. Many are in leadership positions in corporations, nonprofits, hospitals, and research facilities. Jewell alumni are treasured employees because of their distinctive critical thinking skills, which are honed as part of the curriculum and culture at Jewell. Jewell College will continue to align its institutional focus to become an indispensable asset to Kansas City. Did you know that 99% of Jewell students receive merit or need-based scholarships? For many students, Jewell would not be possible without your generosity. By attending this fundraising event tonight, you are supporting the work of bright, capable students, just like Grace and Tavares. You can see for yourselves the caliber of young people whose educations you are helping to make possible. Tonight, you have another opportunity to donate to Jewell's annual fund, which directly supports students. There's a QR code on the back of tonight's program, so I'll encourage you to pull out your phone and scan this code. All gifts made this evening will be entered to win 4 Diamond Club tickets and 1 parking pass for opening day of the Kansas City Royals 2022 season, and Tavares will announce the winner at the end of our program. The Corporate Sponsorship Committee appreciates your willingness to help students find their home on the Hill and grow into the leaders of tomorrow. Our committee did an outstanding job generating 85 sponsors and underwriters for this year's celebration. We are pleased to announce, thanks to your generosity, our committee has raised more than $335,000 tonight. Our success would not have been possible without the generosity of our presenting sponsor, Sarah Rowland. Thank you, Sarah. We are grateful to count on you all as we work together to advance Jewell's mission and to provide a Jewell journey for current and future students. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for the students of Jewell College. Good evening. My name is Bill Gotra. I'm a 1985 graduate of Jewell College. My own horizons were forever altered by my experience at Jewell and the Oxford Overseas Study Program. Today, I'm honored to serve as the chair of the Board of Trustees. Several months ago, President McLeod Walls challenged a group of notable Kansas Cityans to generate the criteria for a brand new award, Jewell College's Critical Thinking Award. They answered the call tonight, and we're pleased to announce the inaugural recipient of the Critical Thinker of the Year Award. Our honoree will join in a conversation moderated by Rosson Paris, founder and CEO of Paris Communications, herself a recipient of Jewel Yates Medallion, the highest non-academic honor bestowed on a non-alumnus of the college. Let's hear it for Rosson. Our inaugural honoree is devoted to helping Kansas City thrive. Having served on boards for Commerce Bank Shares, the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City, and currently serving on several other boards, Snap-on Incorporated, Livongo Health, the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, and Royals Charities. Our recipient believes that every person deserves a quality and affordable education, and for this reason has served on several boards and established a legacy fund to create a cultural center, fund scholarships for Black students, and support diversity and inclusion initiatives at Northwest Missouri State University, where our recipient received a bachelor's degree in accounting. After earning a master's degree, our recipient started a career at KPMG, holding several senior leadership positions, and ultimately was admitted to the partnership. In 2015, our honoree was named Vice Chair for President Obama's Advisory Board on Doing Business with Africa. In 2018, the college bestowed a William Yates Medallion for distinguished service. Our recipient is the past president of the Kansas City Parks and Recreation Board, having led the $80 million restoration of Liberty Memorial and solidifying its designation as the National World War I Museum in Kansas City. Our honoree was the first African-American woman to serve as chair of the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce, and the first African-American woman to become an independent owner of a Major League Baseball team, the Kansas City Royals. As a trailblazer, she has often been the first and opened many pathways for those who have followed. Although our recipient's calendar doesn't look like that of a retiree, she did in fact retire from her full-time career in 2018 as Executive Director, CFO, and President of the Global Finance and Technology Solutions Division of our very own Black and Veatch. We could go on and on with this legacy of accomplishments. With this award, we want to honor not those who have made history in the past, mostly white men, but those who are making history today. As you can plainly see, our recipient encompasses William Jewell College's 7 attributes of a critical thinker: analytical, passionate, creative, problem solver, humanitarian, truth-seeking, and innovative. Our community is a better place to be through the efforts of this great Kansas Citian and those who have received her mentorship. The 2022 William Jewell College Critical Thinker of the Award recipient is Karen Daniel.
Well, it is a joy to be with all of you in this very intimate setting, a conversation with Karen and 600 of us. And we are going to be mindful of your time tonight on this snowy night, but there are some things that I know that Karen is certainly capable of saying and that are in her heart, which we all need to hear and share with her tonight as we celebrate this extraordinary inaugural award. So, Karen, no place like the beginning. So what I would love to do with all of you, having had the privilege of running alongside her as friend and truly as sisters for almost 4 decades, is I would love for you to hear the story of her beginnings in Kansas City, her upbringing in Kansas City, and a bit of the extraordinary journey that she has taken to a moment like this. So Karen, if you would share with us a bit about your upbringing.
Thanks, Roseanne. Is this,
It's on.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Before I do that, may I just say that it is an overwhelming honor to be here tonight and to represent our community from every facet. Family, education, baseball, but most importantly, be around a group of people who really want the very best for Kansas City. So thank you so much for this honor. Now, back to the beginning. Some of you may know what I'm getting ready to say, but I say it every chance I get. Sometimes you're just lucky in life. And my luck began when I was born to Ralph and Claudine Daniel. And I am the third of 5, middle child, so I have negotiating skills. Bill didn't mention that, but the third of 5, and we were a very close-knit family. We lived right off of 40th and Prospect was our beginning place, and we went to Kansas City, Missouri public schools, and just really had a very fun, sometimes stressful upbringing, but nonetheless, we had a great family unit. Our grandparents on our mother's side, our grandmother was a teacher, 2nd grade teacher. Therefore, education early in life was a big deal. And Grandpa was an entrepreneur, as I call him. He had a small businesses along the way. And we spent a lot of time with them on the weekends. And Grandma not only taught school, but she was the superintendent of Sunday school, so we had to go to church as well. But a great knit family, very close. We're always together, the 5 of us. On our dad's side, firefighters, public servants, 3 battalion chiefs, our grandpa's brother, and our father. So lots of public service, and we were just taught that our family should be an extension out to the community, so I've always been involved in the community. But Grandma was about education, and that was really important to us. Mama was, she raised 5 kids. So she didn't talk to us about perseverance. She showed us perseverance, how to get through difficult times, and the importance of us sticking together. And not just sticking together, but also, when you see me, you see them. When you see any of us, you see us all. I'm happy to say that 2 of my sisters are here tonight, Stephanie, my older sister, and Felicia, my younger sister. And the other unique thing about us, what Mama told us, is not just to stick together, but stand shoulder to shoulder. Always be there for each other. And that was and remains the foundation of my support and confidence. So those were the early days.
Extraordinary. And in the category of words that we can't unhear, it's extraordinary compelling to hear you say, Mama didn't teach us how to persevere. She showed us perseverance. Really pretty powerful. So we begin with a theme of family and the extraordinary privilege of your being born to your mom and to your daddy. And we're going to return to another important family member, but I would love for you to talk a little bit more about your daddy in particular, because I know that he had a significant impact on you throughout your life, but most especially when you attempted to go off to graduate school.
So what Roseanne is referencing is that I went to Northwest Missouri State, and I came back to Kansas City because I wanted to go to graduate school, and I was going to go to UMKC. And I asked Daddy, if I could get a little place over by the campus, and he said, no, not, not paying for you to have an apartment. Furthermore, you've got a year to finish that degree. So I had to stay with him and get this degree in a year's time. And it was really an eye-opening experience. And Daddy was 6'4", so he was a towering figure, and already telling us, giving us advice and so forth. But anyway, I'm wanting to go to graduate school, and I'm in graduate school, and I was talking about the classes and so forth, and so he said to me, well, if you want to be a business person, you need to start figuring out what's going on in the world. So he told me to sit down and watch McNeil Lear, and how important it was to gather information and understand current events and what was going on. So that was one input. Then, in addition to that, he told me, I was talking about various things that I was working on, and he said, you need to be an independent thinker. Don't ever let anybody else tell you what you should think. And what happened in that moment for me was the confidence to think on my own, of course, but then it morphed into, what does independent thinking really mean? Yes, I have the right to make my own decisions, but his point was, if you're going to be independent, you have to get other information. You have to get unbiased information. And that was important to me because, at that age, you pretty much have tunnel vision. But he was broadening the lens and helping me see the world in a broader way. And as I continued to develop in that way, eventually I graduated and got my master's degree, went to work for KPMG.
Did you make the one-year mark that he demanded?
I absolutely did. That was, by the time
Wasn't
the
an
year was
option.
over, I was ready to go as well, so it was okay. But the point, though, was that Daddy continued with this thought process, and that meant I had to go and get information. If I was going to truly be independent, I had to be unbiased first in gathering the information. So I went to work at KPMG, and I was grousing about something that was going on at work, and this was life-altering as well, because he told me, I don't want to hear about your problems, Karen. I want to know what you're doing to solve them. And then he put me through a few paces on the what if today scenarios. What would happen if this happened? That's not going to work. So that was vital input for me. And as I went forward in my career, of course, I was looking for ways to gather information. But the next piece of that was not just to do my own research, but to invite other people into that analysis. Get people who have a different view, a dissenting view, the naysayers, which would become valuable in my work career, given my job, to make sure you listen to all the stakeholders. So Daddy, that year, he had quite an impact on me, and it continued to carry forward into my decision-making. And ultimately, when he told me, I don't want to hear about your problems, I want to know how you're solving them, that was the beginning of being part of the solution and not part of the problem. And I carried that forward with me.
And that, in fact, has been the bellwether that really defines your engagement in the community,
Absolutely.
which we'll get to in just a moment. Let's talk for a second, returning back to this theme of critical thinking, about the fact that William Jewell obviously is very squarely focused on increasing access to education, something that's, I know personally, so near and dear to you, and also on that journey to creating a vibrant and diverse campus. And President Elizabeth McLeod-Walls has certainly dedicated herself to that in a big way, as has Chairman Gautreaux, and so many members of your campus community. So when you think about the importance of trying to create that diverse and welcoming opportunity and access for education, what might be some of the things that you see that are opportunities in executing against that strategy?
I'll start with saying thanks again to William Jewell for taking this work on. It's really important for us to provide education and create environments where diversity is welcomed and really becomes an asset. So for me, in thinking about William Jewell and the goals that you just described, we have to think first about the whole critical thinking, critical thinking sometimes is seen as maybe an academic exercise, but I believe, and I think William Jewell can continue beating the drum, this is a life skill that we will always have with us and always be able to use. So that's number one. And knowing that it's a life skill in addition to a degree, I think will attract the future thinkers of our community, the young people. The second thing that I would say is that I attended one of the education summits, and there were some young students there from William Jewell. This was a couple years ago. And they were talking about the degrees that they chose when they first signed up at William Jewell and how they transitioned from there to wanting to be educators because they saw the value in their education, but they then wanted to be part of providing that education to others, particularly as it relates to the underserved and underrepresented. So I would encourage William Jewell and our community in general to continue looking for people who are committed to education and helping our younger people. It was stated earlier, we have a teacher shortage. We have to get people back in the classroom who really care. My grandmother was a second grade school teacher, and whenever we were out and about, we would run into students who thanked her, who had graduated from high school, who had gone on to college. So that's the second thing that I think would be very helpful. The third is creating an environment where people feel like they actually belong. And I'm saying belong rather than included because there is a difference. There is a difference. We do better when we see people that look like us. We do better when we have a place to go. That doesn't mean others don't care. I'm just saying that there are differences when you come from different walks of life. All of us have differences. And to me, that is a really important piece of creating the glue to keep people together. But more importantly, it becomes the flywheel for us to more rapidly address this education gap that we have in our community. So that would be my thinking about accelerating and compounding the work that's going on at William Jewell.
That's how you get an unexpected strategic plan on a snowy Thursday night, right? So we're going to wind out of the critical thinking discussion except for one question because I know the answer and I think the answer is extraordinary. Describe a circumstance in which the process you went through to get to a solution or an answer impacted and maybe changed your life.
Well, there are a couple. One, I will start with when I was 10 years old, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King weighed really, really heavy on a 10-year-old. And of course, Dr. King was assassinated after President Kennedy had been assassinated. And a mere 2 months later, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. I was 10 years old. And I'll go back to Dr. King because when Dr. King was assassinated here in Kansas City, we had terrible riots. It was all over the news. And our mother set us down because we were in harm's way for a bit of the rioting. But we made it home and she had a conversation with us. And the conversation was around Dr. King gave up his life for us to have opportunities. And in doing so, she wanted us to be mindful that he gave his very life so we could have opportunities. And to honor him, we should pay him back with when those opportunities come our way. Take them, make them work. When they do, give back. And the other part of the conversation was he was a single man, but single as in one person, obviously he's married. But he was a single person who, through his work, was really, really dedicated to peace and kindness. And those things really impacted me. And my sister talks about I was always worried about that, always trying to make everything fair. And it's part of that. But what was also troubling to me, at 10 years old, I'm thinking 3 people were assassinated because we disagreed. That's what we do? We kill each other because we disagree? For a 10-year-old, that was really a lot on me. So my commitment was, if I ever had a chance to seize the opportunity, I would, but I would find a way to make things better, and I would always give back. And my opportunity that changed my life really was the opportunity to go to college. That was huge, and became part of my journey in a way that makes me committed to the community, but also giving back to the community. But those things happened, and there were several other little things that happened, not little, but like my first day of college, my roommate discovered I was black, and she moved by the time I got back from class the first day. And had I not had those discussions, I might have let that get the best of me. But I called my mother, and she's like, "You're not there for social aspects. You're there to get your education. Keep it moving," right? And that was great advice. And then our mother, our community mother, Beth Smith, I was telling Beth later in life about that experience, and she was telling me about her journey in life and being Jewish. And I said, how did you deal with all of that? Life lesson. You deal with one person one day at a time. That's how you change. And so all those things rolled together gave me the passion to go and do the things that I like to do. And I think when you're passionate and committed to something, like our community, the way I am, my family, the way that I am, this critical thinking comes naturally, because you're always on the journey to figure it out, how you can make a difference for somebody else.
So that would be a great grand finale, but we're not quite done. But we're getting there. So great segue to lessons learned along the road of life, and the way that sort of that you watched America and the world negotiate through difficult circumstances informed the way you then began to negotiate the world and our community. And joyfully, you became the first African American woman not only to chair the Greater Kansas City Chamber, and the 5th woman ever in 130 years to chair the Greater Kansas City Chamber, but you also became the first woman anywhere on the planet, African American woman, to chair a Chamber of Commerce. And give it up, give it up. But what was so extraordinary about the way you navigated that journey, with some very tough issues during your tenure, as I remember well, and some important strategic issues that you helped the Chamber navigate, was the way you brought not only your life lessons, which you've shared with us, but also your classic humility. And that has really been a hallmark of the way in which you have conducted yourself. And you've lived your life one person, one relationship, one challenge at a time. So taking that forward, the question now is, how does the critical thinking skills that you developed and executed throughout your chamber year now take you to what Kansas City ought to be doing and what you see on the runway ahead for Kansas City?
Well, during my time at the Chamber, one of my favorite parts of that journey was when we worked on the strategies and how we aligned them with the needs of the community and the Big Five, all those things. I just love that kind of thing. That's the innovative part, I guess, Bill. And so that was very helpful to kind of have a vision for where we wanted to go. And the board the leaders on the chamber team, we all decided that we needed growth and prosperity, all boats rise. And we had this vision that we were going to be a community that worked for all. And those concepts stayed with us as we went forward. The next big item on the agenda for our community at that time was the airport. There were a lot of people that didn't want necessarily to have the new airport, for whatever reasons they were. But through Joe's leadership, Joe Reardon, and others on the board, we set about to get information that would help us make the right decision and how we would include all the stakeholders to make it a success. Now, I know we're about a year away, but as we all know, the airport is coming along. But as that was developing, I had a chance to be part of that and use some of the skills you're describing. But I think going forward, based on that vision that we have, I think we still have opportunities to not only use critical thinking, but focus on workforce development, education, affordable housing, all the things that make us a community that allows growth. If we don't, we're going to lose the young people. If we don't include the young people, we're going to miss an opportunity to shape the future. So as I think about where we go forward, we have a lot of things on our plate. And I would say, number one, as we look for ways to solve these issues, the number one thing that we have to do is to have inclusive conversations. Invite the stakeholders that we need. And that's the naysayers and all the rest of that. But also to get involved in unbiased research. Those are difficult conversations. That's sometimes being courageous enough to ask that question that's on everybody else's mind, or that question that nobody wants to answer, and then be bold enough to ask the next level down question so that we can really get to the root of what we want and why we want it. And then the third piece of it is empathetic solutions. Not just what the people at the table want. Put yourself in someone else's shoes for the future. What does our community look like? So those would be some of the things that I think we can work on as a community, and I'm all in. And I think it'll make a difference if we can get those kinds of things done and gather that kind of process.
There are people down here taking notes, and I'm hearing a lot of down here as well. So let's turn to another first. Not only the first African-American woman to co-own the Kansas City Royals, but one of the first, and perhaps the first, we're working on this, perhaps the first in the nation and therefore anywhere on the planet to co-own a Major League Baseball team. African-American woman, forgive me. Just an extraordinary, extraordinary journey, one that you in a million years would have never imagined. And it's important for all of us to understand that baseball is not a passing interest of Karen Daniel. This is beyond dream come true stuff, because the other family member that we wanted to talk about is Grandpa Peanuts.
Peanuts.
And an extraordinary impact that he had on the idea that his granddaughter is sitting here today as a co-owner of the Kansas City Royals. Tell us about that.
Well, I mentioned earlier that we spent a lot of weekends at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and when I was 6 years old, Grandpa loved baseball and golf. I never got to the golf thing, but baseball he loved. And during this stretch of time, the St. Louis Cardinals were playing the New York Yankees in the World Series. And Grandpa had me watch the baseball game with him, and then the next game. And during that World Series, Bob Gibson, who was black pitcher, he pitched 3 of those games. He lost one, but he won the all-important Game 7. And that whole pitching scenario led to a lot of discussion around the strategy of pitching. And that stayed with me. and it's part of my strategy now. Strategy is so important. Execution is even more important. And so the Cardinals won that World Series, but I became a lifelong baseball fan. When I went to work at KPMG, shortly after I bought a reliable car, I got in the office pool for 10 games in the season tickets. So Grandpa, he was just really all about that, and he always had a reason behind what he was telling you. And he also owned, by the time we got in high school, he owned a small store on the corner of 18th and Vine that is now the Blue Room on that corner. Yeah. So Grandpa, our birthdays are 4 days apart. So I think he must have known there was a CFO in the making, because he was always talking about, we would go to the store after church on Sunday, and it's his store, so we want to gather up the candy and all this, and he had limits. That stuff costs money. It's not free. So we had, limits that we could have some candy, but that whole business model was kind of coming into my mind, because he was like the first entrepreneur I knew. And so that was another thing that stuck with me. But fast forward, and I'm a big baseball fan, and then we have a change in our ownership group. And the ownership group is all about the community. And I thought, what a great chance if I could be part of that group. Conversations ensued. Rosson was part of that. And John Sherman invited me to participate and become one of the owners of the Royals group. And I remember driving home from John's office thinking, well, what's just happened? And I called Rosson and anyway, Brent Sherman. So I called him. Anyway, I was driving down state line, and I'm thinking, what just happened? An incredible way to honor our grandfather, a really meaningful way to invest, not just in baseball, but our community, and hang out with people who have the same ideas that I do relative to helping our community. So it was eye-opening. No, I didn't think it was possible. And in fact, I sent John Sherman a note a few days later and said, thank you for making the impossible possible for this 6-year-old little girl.
So that brings us to the last question of the night. And I thought really hard about whether this would feel like a gotcha question. And it will. And I'm okay with it. Because the fact is that there are a lot of people in this room who probably have thought about this question long before I did. So I'm going to ask it of you, and you can't get a lifeline from Bill Gotro here, because it's not how it's going to work. What we all really want to know is whether Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be a part of the opening day roster.
Well, this meeting is about critical thinkers. Let me see who I can defer that question to.
It's a 911 Dayton Moore.
I was just going to say, is Dayton here with us tonight?
He's in surprise.
I'm not going to answer that question because I'm fearful of any backlash of revealing our strategy and game plan.
Well, on that note, you said some things that I think most of us will remember for a very long time. You have not only changed the face of the community, but you've changed the hearts and minds of so many who've had the privilege of running alongside you all these years. And you got a lot of runway yet ahead, and we can't wait to see what you do with it. So please help me, again, to congratulate the inaugural winner of the William Jewell Critical Thinker Award, Karen Daniel.
Miss Paris and Miss Daniel, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Miss Daniel, we can't wait to watch the Royals on your field, and we hope you will come see the Jewell Cardinals compete on our field, court, and track. We are honored to consider you part of the Jewell team. Now the moment you all have been waiting for, the winner of the 4 Diamond Club tickets and 1 parking pass for opening day of the Kansas City Royals 2022 season, Robin McLean Smith. Congratulations. The advancement team will contact you next week to make arrangements for your tickets. We have enjoyed an evening that has stimulated our minds and enriched us as a community. We have celebrated individual achievement in the context of a wider community of learning. We have acknowledged our supporters who offer the strong foundation upon which we as students might build lives of purpose and fulfillment. Jewell has celebrated its partnership with Kansas City, which is home to many Jewell alumni who contribute to this vibrant region. I think I speak on behalf of the student body when I say that at Jewell, we are lucky to receive an education that gives us the tools necessary to thoughtfully contribute to our communities, and we are grateful that so many of you have been able to provide this truly remarkable experience. Thank you all for demonstrating by your presence here tonight your commitment to making William Jewell and Kansas City strong and exciting communities. Now please stand as Matthew Harris returns to the stage to perform William Jewell College's alma mater. Until we have the pleasure of meeting again, good night.
High upon a hill she stands and we